I'm going to talk about the war in Ukraine. Number one of the first implications of the war in Ukraine is that the dollar has lost their supremacy. Now, this is not something that you're going to see immediately. Of course, there is an immediate kind of consequence, which is the decision by other nations to sell their goods in their own currency. So China to use the yen, asking creditors to use the yen when purchasing China products. Russia asking people to pay them in rubles, and so on and so forth. South Africa, etc., etc. So all of these countries will start to avoid making transactions in dollar. This is the signal or the beginning of the end for the dollar. The dollar used to be the currency without which you will not have any business. So nowadays, people have liberated themselves from this currency because they have kind of realized that this currency, on the face value, it shows as currency, but on the flip side of it, it shows the word sanction. So nobody wants to be sanctioned in the way that Russia was sanctioned in recently by America. So lesson learned, let's move away from the dollar and abandon that currency completely. Do business with other currency like the yen or the ruble. Those other two currencies will become the alternative method of payment for people around the world. That is number one. New World Order, that is number one kind of consequences. That was the first consequence. Number two, other nations like China could realize or observe what type of sanctions the West is deploying and what strength, the impact of those sanctions. So China, who has similar hegemonic plans like Russia, will soon put those plans into practice, but will have a better outcome because they would have learned from Russians' mistakes, if there is any mistakes. Notably, the fact that Russia delayed their operation, giving the West enough time to protect and to prepare for a response. Number two is that the Russia did not give clear objective as to what they wanted to do. Now, the West was misled in that sense because they thought that they were going for Kiev, the capital. But Russia was going for Donbass, Mariupol. That's what they wanted to do. So they did like some sort of diversion. And the West were like, oh, the operation failed. So Russia has failed. They wanted to take Kiev, but they couldn't. No, Russia was not interested to take Kiev. That's number two. China will love this. Number three, in the sporting world, number three, is it number three or number four? The political fallout out of this war clearly divided the world in two. No, in two. Strictly divided the world in two. So you have the pro-Western nations, which are a minority. They don't even make 20% of the nation in the world. And then a bulk of 80% of the nation who are on the side of Russia or neutral. Now, neutral, the Western world doesn't like that word, that word. So they are clearly supporting Russia, but they don't want to say it loud and clear. So this geopolitical split of the world allows Russia to be able to dictate a new kind of world with the 80% or 70% that they have in their camp, compared to the 20% or less than 30% on the other side of Western nation. So the political fallout here is that Russia can then go and conquer lands in Africa, which they have been doing well before this war started, in Central Republic of Africa and Mali, and now Cameroon. So Russia is actually gaining more momentum as an imperialist power, going there to offer a new alternative to these countries who have not prospered since independence. So Russia is willing to give them military support and economical support, trade agreements, etc. Win-win trade agreement, different to the one that the West is used to providing there in Africa. So Russia is winning in terms of propaganda and popularity in the world. Most of these third nation countries are clearly supporting Russia, even if they don't say it. Now, the fourth consequence here is that because the West has decided to mix politics and sports and music and everything, right? They have banned Russian companies from operating and stuff. So this will push Russia into creating their own organizations or their own kind of political corporations or political bodies, sports bodies, etc. So we could see a football league that would be created by Russia, which will involve those nations that are not part of the Western group. We could see a tennis tournament that will implicate or involve people from Russia, China, Africa, and the other countries. We could see Russia creating music festival or film festivals where they would promote movies for all of these countries that are not part of the Western world. We could see Russia creating an alternative security council. For example, they can go as far as doing that, which is a copycat of the United Nations Security Council, but run by these non-allied countries or countries that are pro-Eastern or countries that are not pro-Western. So the West, in a way, in deciding to fight and exclude Russian sportsmen and women, Russian musicians, Russian actors film actors, etc., in their decision to ban those from participating in, the Oscars or the tournament or the, the competition with their Western counterpart, they will end up creating a pro-Russian kind of federation for tennis, or a big organization that will then run those same activities, but under the Russian kind of leadership, the Russian and the Chinese leadership. These two nations are the biggest in the world, biggest in terms of, territory and in terms of population. Well, Russia is not bigger than America, but very close. So what America is doing here, in essence, is that America has decided to, Russia has forced America into splitting the world in two. Russia has forced America into splitting the world in two by starting that war in Ukraine, and America fell in that trap, and we can see what we can see now, which is Russia not really suffering in a way that America predicted in terms of the economical sanctions. Russia seems to be doing really well so far. The war has continued, so the aim of the American government was to stop Russia from continuing the war in Ukraine. But as you can see, the war is still ongoing, and Russia is not willing to withdraw anytime soon. So please tell me in the comment section what you think. Tell me in the comment section what the new order means to you, or what the new order, the new world order would look like. I've just given you my perspective. Please feel free to comment, like, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. Bye. He was Mr. Urbanen.